Tavagatamritam tapta jivanam kavibiriditam kalmashapaham Shravanamangalam Srimadatam Bhavignanti ye Bhudita Janaha. Thy words of immortality, filled with divine glories, they are praised by sages. Thy words destroy the threefold miseries of life and also the sins. They are auspicious to hear. Those, O Lord, who spread thy words and receive them are the greatest benefactors of mankind. The Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. Before we go in, we'll take a few moments to reflect on the imperishable aspect within us. Om, peace, peace, peace. Today is also International Yoga Day. And we'll speak a few words before you go into the Gospel. Yoga, it has a very ancient history, and its development took place for 1,000 years before it could be codified into what we know as the principles of yoga. Yoga itself means union from the word yoke, and also it means concentration on the divine. But yoga itself had its origins in the old Vedic sacrifices called the yajnas, where part of the sacrifices was supposed to be external and internal. One reflected on the inner symbology of the rituals. And this in time was made into the principles of yoga. So in those days it was called the upasana, that you go, which takes you close and makes you sit down. So this was the beginning, and at one point of time, Swami Vivekananda says, it had caught the imagination of people, and they were all trying to get into these higher aspects of the mind. That is yoga. But today we know yoga is more on the physical level, called Hatha Yoga. But is Hatha Yoga itself never started as just physical exercises. It was supposed to tone and strengthen the subtle body, which is the prana and the mind. And then these exercises were given in order to make those parts of the human personality strong enough to withstand the strain of long hours of meditation. However, it has now become a household word and everything revolves around now yoga. That being said, let us come back to the gospel. The last time we saw Sri Ramakrishna, you've got to press your demands on God. Yeah. And then he says, isn't God a father and a mother? Now this happens when you've already established a relationship with God. That is, God is a father and mother, I'm a child, or I'm a servant of God, and the various other relationships that we have. And then he continues. If the son demands his patrimony and gives up food and drink in order to enforce his demand, then the parents hand his share over to him 3 years before the legal time. Or when the child demands some pice, that is some dimes, from his mother and says to her over and over again, "Mother, give me a couple of pice, dimes. I beg you on my knees." Then the mother, seeing his earnestness and unable to bear it anymore, tosses the money to him. So nice examples which was current during those days. And even today, of course. This is the way you need to press your demands on God. When you have established a relationship that God is my father and mother. And God, and for what? Not for dimes, of course, but for devotion and knowledge, and so that God will reveal herself to you. That is the idea. So he's given 2 examples of a child, even before coming to the legal age of inheritance, inherits the parents, you can say, properties, whatever, assets. And it's nice. Keep on pressing. And like a child crying for a few coins from his mother. That is the way to press your demands. When you pray, you must not have the idea, maybe God is not listening, maybe God is busy. That cannot be. So that very intensity of that relationship will make one press demands. You must reveal yourself to me. And then it happens. You will find yourself progressing. And as Sri Ramakrishna says, you take 1 step towards God, God takes 10 steps towards you. So you will feel the progress as the intensity of your pressing the demands on God increases. And this happens when there is a real need, a thirst. The spirit, as it were, has awakened. It is no longer interested in these baubles, this chimera of the world. It wants that which is immortal. It seeks its own immortality in this. There is, Sri Ramakrishna continued, there is another benefit from holy company, because the context was holy company, etc. The benefit. It helps one cultivate discrimination between the real and the unreal. This is what happens. So you go to a temple, you go to a holy person, and then what happens? Well, slowly, that depends on what you are seeking there. Okay. If you are seeking the truth or God or reality, then you are gradually drawn into that orbit of discerning between what is real and the unreal. So he's saying that is an additional benefit, he says. It helps one cultivate discernment between the real and the unreal. Then he explains, God alone is real. That is to say, the eternal substance, and the world is unreal. That is to say, transitory. Now, this is not an offhand statement that Sri Ramakrishna has said. And as we've been discussing these words of Sri Ramakrishna, the Gospel, all his words are experienced by him, or they have been experienced by others, and he's relating it to them. So these are experiences. And that's why he's saying it hits you. That depends on how ready your mind is. Saying God alone is real. That is to say, the eternal substance, and the world is unreal. That is to say, transitory. Now, till this thing sinks in your mind, it may take, I don't know, years and years. But the best way for these truths to sink into your mind is one simple way: to read over and over this Gospel. Because Sri Ramakrishna often repeats these words, and also the whole gist of the Gospel is God alone is real and the universe is unreal. Now, when you say unreal, it's saying transitory. There's something called the changeable nature of this world, and we all know it. Maybe it doesn't strike us, but when we lose something, or even when we gain something, we understand, this world is not an unchangeable, static, permanent. It will give you everything you want. It has been changing. Your bodies have been changing, the minds have been changing, the external world has been changing, people have been changing. So this is the world. It's transitory. And God is the eternal substance, the unchangeable. And then he explains, as it is a beautiful way. As soon as the man finds his mind wandering away to the unreal, he should apply discrimination. And this is the nature of the mind. It will flit from this to that. And so when it goes down to the unreal, why? Because of old habits, old memories. We are not cautious, we are not vigilant, it will run away. Bring it back. And he gives the example of the moment an elephant stretches out its trunk to eat a plantain tree in a neighbor's garden, it gets a blow from the iron goad of the driver. This is what it is. So the moment the mind goes onto unreal things, you've got to be vigilant and bring it back in. And if it doesn't, then you give the example, use a goad. There's a kind of the mahout. They used to use as a pointed, one end as a pointed, you can say, tip. And the other is as kind of a, you can say, a semicircular, you can say, shape. So you used to hit on the forehead. We have seen that, elephant thing. But be careful, you must understand the elephant. Otherwise, the elephant is going to toss you out. So you have already built up a kind of a relationship with the elephant. The elephant is your mind. So, but old habits, it will make the mind go out and then bring it back in. So this is. Now, so much has been said about the world being unreal and holy company, etc. Then a question is input. A neighbor. Why does a man have sinful tendencies? Now, after speaking all this, that, yeah, the mind goes to unreal things. And suddenly, the questioner comes. And this is the question that has perplexed all saints, all theologians, all the people, all over the believers. Why? And we have been drilled over and over and over again with this idea of sin. A child is born in sin. My God. No, the child is born pure. It has been hammered and hammered and hammered into us for the last thousands and thousands of years. Sin and sin and sin. And if you don't correct your ways, you'll get into something that is going to roast you for eternity. My God. That makes it even worse. So this question is, why does man have sinful tendencies? Now Sri Ramakrishna also, the Master says, in God's creation, there are all sorts of things. He has created bad men as well as good men. Human people, of course. It is He who gives us good tendencies, and it is He again who gives us evil tendencies. Oh my God. What kind of... But why? You could have done it all good. That's according to you. What is good to you? And so philosophically, good is always associated with bad. Bad is associated with good. I'm using these old terms of good and bad. And the Bhagavad Gita says, like, fire is always associated with smoke and soot. So however good your action might be, there will be some consequence, some detrimental consequence, maybe not to you, but to someone else. And even somewhere deep down you have done something, there will be some kind of consequence which you had not expected, which may be at a distance, or maybe a distance in time also. So this is one huge problem. He's saying God has creation, in God's creation there's all sort of. See, remember, there's no devil to be blamed here. Everything was okay till Satan comes and spoils the whole thing. No. Blame it on God. Yeah, okay, fine. Don't bring in an extraneous excuse, extraneous factor to say, what about its evil? Yes. You must be able to face that reality, that this is the world. Don't whitewash it. We keep on saying, oh, it's so sublime and so beautiful. And because of this, we have been deluded that God has created everything that's good, and the devil has come and created something, all the bad things. And how do you escape? Well, keep on the side of the good, and then you'll get to a place where there will be no evil, only good. It's a kind of a utopian view of the world. However, so he says, Sri Ramakrishna says, He has created all these things. He is responsible. She is responsible. You see, what happens is we are more interested in polarities, good and evil or bad. And that is what it is. No, the whole thing is a continuum. It's a spectrum. At the opposite ends, it appears like this. So what do? We stay somewhere in the middle. So remember, because everything is networked, it's a continuum, this whole world is connected on different levels in various ways. It's very hard for us to see those connections. So we make it into two poles, this and this. It's never like that. So Sri Ramakrishna again is explaining. He's not trying to whitewash. So the neighbor says, in that case, we aren't responsible for our sinful actions, are we? Oh, that's so wonderful. So what do you do? God has done. I'm not. I'm fine. So this is a nice question. But he should have asked, so we aren't responsible for our good actions also? Why did he say only our sinful actions? So the good actions are mine, sinful actions are not yours. That is the flaw in the argument. God has done good, given this impetus for both good as bad. So you're saying, and that's what happens is, the moment we have an ego is saying, yeah, this what I've done is, mine. Later on we'll find that Sri Ramakrishna gives the example of a man who beat a cow so badly that she died, and then he was afraid, oh my God, the cow has died. That's a big sin. So what should I do? Oh, the hands are guided by the deity called Indra. So I did not do that. It was Indra, the guiding deity of my arms, that did it. And sin tried to enter into him. Then he's saying, no, you go to Indra. And that sin, like a black cloud, it goes to Indra. And saying, well, what? There must be some mistake here. Wait. Let me get some clarification. So he comes down and he sees, oh, this is what happened. So he comes in the guise of a small Brahmin, and then he says, oh, he's praising the garden. Oh, who's done this? Whose garden is this? Oh, it's mine. Oh, beautiful flowers. Huh? Have you done it? Yes. And he kept on praising the garden, and this person kept on acknowledging that, yes, this is my garden. I have taken all this effort to make it beautiful. Then he slowly comes to the cow. Oh, who's killed that cow? This person is quiet. And you rascal, all the good things that you have done and all the heinous things that you have done is by Indra. He reveals himself. Take back this. So, when we do something good, I'm responsible. When you do something bad, not me. So, this is you can say, this is the general orientation of our minds also. That, yeah. So, in that case, we aren't responsible for our sinful actions, are we? Then Sri Ramakrishna said, sin begets its own results. This is God's law. Like good begets its own results, sin also begets its own result. This is God's law. What is God's law? Oh, that's the law of karma. Whatever you do, you will have to face the consequences today or tomorrow. And later on, he'll give an example. So, this is the policeman here. This is what. But are these laws like cast iron? They can be broken? Yes, they can be broken. So we won't go into the many aspects of karma. But if you have done something, that can be countered. Always remember. Otherwise, we'll be like the chair or the table without any freedom. The jiva, every individual soul, has been given a degree of freedom. It's always there. Otherwise, life wouldn't be worth living. It would be just like a wall standing, or like a tree just standing. So this is God's law. So every action will beget its own reaction. So every action has its opposite and equal reaction, etc. As you sow, so shall you reap. It's in the Bible. So this is known. It's not that Sri Ramakrishna is saying something new. This was known to the ancients and to all people. You find people have written about morality with this idea behind you, that if you do something, you got to take the responsibility. And how does the results or the consequence of the action comes to us? Oh yeah, it's like in the old days, like, you take a dollar bill, you tear half, and then saying, and when we next meet, how do I know that this is the same person or something like that? You kind of you get the two ends of the dollar bill and, okay, yeah, something like that. So when you do an action goes out, a part of that action remains as a residue here. It's called the impressions in the mind. And the rest of that karma circuits and comes back. Maybe today, maybe tomorrow, maybe day after tomorrow, maybe after 10 years, who knows? The more intense an action will come back to you. It seeks you. Oh, this is yours. Come. No, that's not mine. It's yours. You can't hide. We think we can hide. There's nobody has seen me. Even your thoughts will have consequences. Now, where is God sitting down? Somewhere down there and keeping a track on everything? No, that's not. He has set in motion this law of karma. And God dwells in all beings. You must always understand, we try to project a God outside. That's a natural tendency of project outside. Now, reverse that. Try to project it inside. God is within. And this gospel will keep on hammering it over and over again. That idea of responsibility then becomes real to you. There's indwelling self within me that's divine, that's God. It's not somewhere God is sitting outside there. So all this discussion about God and this, and remember, it's not outside. It's not you're behind closed doors, or God is somewhere. Maybe God is sleeping, or maybe something. God is busy. No. God is ever active here within all of us. If you have that consequence, you will become conscious of your actions. But if you do something, it will come to you. It doesn't matter whether it out. We have that kind of stamina. Okay, that's my fault. Okay, that's okay. So this is God's law. And in the law of karma, doctrine of the karma, God is the ordainer of the fruits of action. According to many streams of thoughts. But like the Buddhist and all the other, even the Hindu other schools, you don't need to have a God there to push that thing back to you. It will come back to you. You don't need. Only there are some who are like a conscious agent to be the operator of this law. So depends, but it comes to you. So he said, won't you burn your tongue if you chew a chili? There. He's given a kind of we've all had this. Especially, real hot chili, the hot peppers. Oh my God. You see what happens? Your mouth burns. Then you need to drink a little milk or something to kind of dilute that burning sensation. So he's giving the example. You put your finger in the fire, it's going to burn. So that's that immediate consequence. And the next consequence, you put your finger in the fire, it burns. So you should not put your fingers into fire. And you come with the knowledge, chilies, if you eat chilies, your mouth will burn. But then we are something like this. We keep on chewing chilies and keep on burning our mouths, and we put our fingers in the fire. We don't learn. That is our mistake. But once you understand, yes, there is an indwelling self which is divine, and immediately the elephant will stretch out his trunk, hit it with the gourd and bring it back in. This is what is called life. Life should be like this. It's not only spiritual life like this. All life should be like this. You immediately put a reins on your actions and your thoughts. You must be careful. If good begets good, do good. It will benefit everybody. And sin begets its own result. Then he gives the example. In his youth, Mathur Babu, that is, who was the son-in-law of the proprietor of this temple at Dakshineshwar, and who was one of the main suppliers for Sri Ramakrishna, great devotee, led a rather fast life. So he suffered from various diseases before his death. So when he was young, he went around, and then everything came back. He's giving an example. One may not realize this in youth. Yeah, when you're young, you keep on doing a lot of things. Then it comes to, he's giving an example. I have looked into the hearth in the kitchen of the Kali temple, that's at Dakshineshwar, when logs are being burnt. Where the logs burnt? In the kitchen, the huge cauldrons, and they have these huge hearths, and they use these they used to use logs. At first, the wet wood burns rather well. It doesn't seem then that it contains much moisture. But when the wood is sufficiently burnt, all the moisture runs back to one end, and at last the water squirts from the fuel and puts out the fire. We've seen that also. So the wood, nobody burns wet wood, but then in India you'll get rains and this and that. You get the moisture. So you'll get some moisture in the wood, firewood. So everything going on well, it's burning, and then suddenly the moisture comes in. So you keep on doing things and then saying, why has God been so unkind to me? Should I have to suffer all this pain and misery in my old age? Oh my God. What is God doing? Then you understand. God will say, He'll bring the mirror in front of you. Or maybe He'll bring up your own memories. Here you are. Oh. God is saying, I'm not to be blamed. This is the law. So this is what, but many people will feel, oh, this explanation is inadequate. And it's true. Because this has the problem of evil. In fact, all religions grew out of trying to find out the answers to the problems of evil. In many cases, the problems of evil cannot be solved. Yeah, you can. Then there are trade-offs. You do something that's less evil. There are no solution. There are trade-offs. So God is one. Yeah, He has designed this whole universe as a continuum. Yes, that's very, very important. But okay, people might get that's not really reasonable, or that's not really logical. But hold your fire for now. As we proceed in reading this gospel, you will get more and more insights into your life and into the divine laws that have set are set in place and that runs everything. So one should be careful about anger, passion, and greed. There it is. So he is again, Sri Ramakrishna, because why? The consequences. The consequences, you see, it is only on this human plane that humans can create fresh karma. All the other planes, they only work out their karma. So why? Because we have the sense of I. And the sense of I, if it is a deluded sense of I, then you're going to do all these things. But in a person whose I is kind of mature, enlightened, sense of identity, this person will immediately find out, oh, these are the lessons of history. You see any character, you see any story, any narrative from anywhere in the world, they've been telling you about all these things. So one should be careful about anger, passion, and greed. This is the history of human society. So here he's saying, take for instance the case of Hanuman. Now he's giving the case of Hanuman. In a fit of anger, he burned Ceylon, which is now in the story of Ramayana. No, they wanted some fun and they caught Hanuman and they burnt his tail. They're saying it's a monkey, he burnt his tail. They never knew his powers. He broke free and his burning tail, he burned the entire city. He didn't wonder, because he was furious. What do you say? So then he's saying, at last he remembered that Sita was living in the Ashoka grove. That is the grove where Ravana had imprisoned her. Then he began to tremble lest the fire should injure her, because suddenly remembered, oh my God, Sita is there, and everything is a conflagration. Then neighbor, why has God created wicked people? This questioner is persistent, I tell you. So he says, that is his will, his play, that is his Leela. Yeah. So, again, like I said, Sri Ramakrishna is saying, it is God himself. So, one time there was a Paramahamsa, a monk of the highest class. These are all knows of Brahman. And then Sri Ramakrishna recognized him. And he was so, I can say, dirty looking, ghoulish, that even they never let him enter into the kitchen where, people are fed, guests, etc. They say, hey, get out. So he goes to the garbage dump, where people have discarded their leavings and the food and the plates, and they used to serve food on those leaf plates. So he goes and he sees some dogs there eating the leftovers. So he goes there, pushes the dogs aside, and in fact he keeps an arm around one dog and he eats along with the dog. Now this is something that's, you can imagine. A few minutes before this, he had bathed in the Ganges, came out and stood in front of the temple of the Divine Mother Kali and sang such a hymn. Sri Ramakrishna is saying that the whole temple shook. And Mother inside was pleased, she was beaming. Now this man, No, he was not even allowed to get into the, you can say, the rows of seats meant for people who are going to sit down and eat. Yes. So he goes without any kind of rancor and, say, hey, don't you know, I'm a Paramahamsa, I'm a knower of Brahman. Who's going to understand? So he goes and eats with those dogs, leavings with the dog. And then he leaves the place. And then Sri Ramakrishna tells his nephew Hriday that he's a knower of Brahman. So Hriday keeps on following. Sir, please instruct me. Please instruct me. Kept on, please instruct me. And this monk is taking a few pebbles and throwing everything. Leave me alone. Don't follow me. But Hriday is persistent because, these guys can give knowledge of Brahman if they are gracious enough. So he wanted something free. Everybody wants free knowledge. Nobody wants to work their way up. And then he was, so finally, sir, please. Then, and he showed like he was angry, the monk showed. He threw some stones, more stones at Hriday, who was following him. And then, sir, saying, see, when he asked him some questions, saying, when you can see this ditch water and the Ganga water as the same, you have attained knowledge. Ditch water, gutter water. In India, gutter means open sewers. It's filthy, it's impure, it's unclean, it's everything. And the Ganges water is pure, holy, sacred. So when you can see that same water in the Ganges and that gutter water as one, then you have attained knowledge. The knowledge will your knowledge will dawn when you discard both good and evil. You have transcended both. So these keep the world, the good and the bad keep the world alive. You see, Sri Ramakrishna says, in this Maya there exists avidya as well as vidya, that ignorance as well as knowledge. Darkness is needed too, ignorance is needed too. It reveals all the more glory of light. It reveals all the more glory of knowledge. There is no doubt, anger and lust and greed are evil. Why then has God created them? In order to create saints. There you have it. Okay, now you know why the whole plan is. To create saints, to liberate souls. That is why. But is this the way? Yes, this is His play, His will. He wants to liberate you all. Wake up. So this is what. A man becomes a saint by conquering the senses. Is there anything impossible for a man who has subdued his passion? He can even realize God through His grace. Again, see how this whole play of creation is perpetuated through lust. There you got the answer. So he's saying, wicked people are needed too. So the soul awakens when it is buffeted by both good and bad. Things we have done consciously, things we have done unconsciously, things others have done, which we all become part of it. Yeah, we are party of it. Nothing is a vacuum in this universe. Your karma affects others and others' karma affects you also. There is individual karma, societal karma, there's a national karma, all this karma, world karma. Everything is kind of. So once you understand this huge, you can see chains, get out. And Swami Vivekananda says it is blows that brings out the inner fire more than praise. When suffering, when the person suffers, there are more chances of the person awakening. The person who's too dull, the chances are. The person who's too elevated, it is the middling, these guys there in the front, where the forces of both good and evil are so perfectly balanced. Again, I said, don't think of them as polarity. This is Maya. It is one. It's appearing sometimes as good and sometimes as bad. Wake up. Because your body itself is made of both the good and the bad forces. Your mind is the result of both good and bad. Otherwise, this human body would not be possible to be born on this plane of existence. If you are such a great, you can say, pure person, you would have been born somewhere in these higher celestial regions. There's a old Ubabhyam Punya Papabhyam Manushe Labate Vashat. Both when the good and the bad actions are balanced, you get a human body. So we are bound to experience this world as both good and bad, because the bodies are made of, minds are made out of both these things, and the world is made of these things. These forces are on this level of existence, because Sri Ramakrishna is talking to us on this level. Okay, here. At one time, the tenants of an estate became unruly. The landlord had to send Golak Chaudhary, who was a ruffian. He was such a harsh administrator that tenants trembled at the very mention of his name. Yeah, it was Mathur Babu, of course. The tenants were activists. They didn't want to pay the rent or whatever. So this guy was sent. When they heard he's coming. But as I said, we have to understand the beginning of this, in the beginning only, God alone is real. The world is unreal. God is that eternal substance, and the world is transitory. So it's constantly changing. Don't be stuck with polarities. Get away from this and realize the divine nature. We stop here for today. If you have questions, we can put Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Okay, there's some question there. Holy Mother said once that one's karma might be reduced. Instead of losing the leg, one gets a small nick on the leg. How does one reduce the effects of karma like that? Oh yeah, Mother clarified by taking the name of God. As I mentioned, that you can counter one karma with another. It's always like that. Suppose you want to, you can say, reduce the flow of the water in a stream. What do? Or you build a dam, a small check dam, or you keep on throwing in mud. And slowly the water is reduced. The speed is reduced and you can dam it. You can attenuate it, you can cancel. In fact, Sri Ramakrishna says, it's an avatar who cancels the doom, not of one person or two persons, of the age. It's called a Kapala Mochana. So the next way is to go to an avatar. So you're safe. The first way is, it is called Prayashchitta Karma. Yeah. You expiate what you have done through another karma. So in this case, where you're supposed to get a wound as wide as a plowshare, you get a pinprick. That is because you have countered that old karma with the name of God. The name of God is very, very powerful. It's the most powerful thing in this world. If you have the name, There's nothing that should frighten you. You have the seed of immortality within you. And that's going to liberate you. So what's karma? In fact, through japa, repetition of God's name, you can tie God, yes, with that name itself. Because God and His name are non-different. So the more you keep on repeating name, all this karma is like kindergarten children. It's nothing. You won't be bothered at all. So this is the best, and this is the only way to come out of the laws or the bonds of karma. Okay. Do we have any questions here? I think then rest is all pranams. Okay. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. A few announcements. Friday, Lakshmi Devi, second part, will be taken by Swami Avikarananda, Ben. And also the Sunday class will be given by him. So come over or come online.